She has taken center stage in theaters across North America. She is a confident and talented performer that lights up every stage she appears on. This Canadian talent is also the recipient of many awards, including the prestigious Dora Mavor-Moore Award. She was even nominated for her role as Donna Sheridan in Mamma Mia. Her name is Louise Pitre. She is an award-winning singer and actress that has left an imprint on the theater industry. Louise was catapulted to national fame in 1992 when she portrayed legendary French singer Edith Piaf in 3 different productions of Piaf. She has released 3 full-length CDs. Her third, entitled Shattered, was released in 2005. In addition to being an award-winning actress and singer, Louise is a fine food connoisseur and enthusiastic chef. Join me, Diana Bumbaca, as I talk one-on-one with Louise Pitre right after this break. Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Diana Bumbaca, and joining me today is a really special guest. She is one of Canada's most famous actresses. We have Louise Pitre. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you.
Now, Louise, we're going to kind of go back in time. You attended Western University and wanted to be a high school music teacher. So how did you first get into theater?
Oh boy, in my 4th year university, I actually auditioned for the musical they were doing at the university. There's a group called Purple Patches, and they do a musical at Talbot Theatre, which is part of the music building at Western. I think I'd always enjoyed singing and playing the piano, but it was mostly Elton John and Carole King stuff at the piano for myself. I think I'd always had a secret desire, and I'd had a dream when I was a kid that I was on stage in a long dress singing, and everybody was going, bravo, you know. So I think I dreamed of singing on stage, but I wasn't sure that I could actually do that for a living. But it never really left my mind and my heart, I think. So in my last year, I just thought, okay, come on, go for it. I actually went in, auditioned, and got it. And so I did it, and that was that. I changed my mind and didn't go to teacher's college. I did graduate, but I decided to try and do musical theater. I thought, that's it, this is for me.
What was it about that performance that made you say, this is it?
It was a review called Flicks, you know, 8 people, and it was a spoof on old movies and whatever. We had to do a very basic tap dance number. I had never done that in my life, but they taught me time step, and we sang and we danced, and are you kidding? I don't know what it was, all of it. The whole rehearsal process was the most amazing thing to me. It's just so personal, what you bring to it, but how close you are to the other people. I just fell in love with the feeling of it, period. And then, of course, being on stage, too, was like, okay, I'm in. This is for me. I don't think I can stay in a classroom and stay at the level that I'm at, necessarily. I all of a sudden doubted that I could be happy doing that.
Now, you were born in Smooth Rock Falls, Ontario.
Yes. Did
you grow up in a musical home?
No, not overly. I guess I'm the only one who plays an instrument and sings professionally or does any of that kind of thing, but my mother always loved to sing, albeit badly. She loves to sing, and she sings with gusto, but she really gets out of tune. The more she sings, the sharper she gets, but it's always been a big joke at home anyway. When she sings "Oh Canada," man, by the time she gets to the end, it's so out of her range, but she goes for it anyway. And I think I get a lot of my passion from her. My father could carry a tune. He used to rarely sing, but on car trips sometimes. And my sister and I always sang together, and we'd figure out harmonies and little percussion things. We sang in the car. We had a 57 Etzel convertible when I was a kid. We had it for 10 years. And car trips were a riot in that car, because the top would be down, the back seat was as big as this room, and my sister and I would just sing all the way to wherever we were going. So it's definitely been a part of my life, yeah, but as a real sort of accessible everyday thing, you know.
Now, Louise, a lot of performers, when they first begin, somehow consider themselves as struggling actors. What did you do when you first started out to sustain yourself?
Yes, the struggling actor thing. I know. I don't know why I have such a thing about that. It's just maybe because I met people early on who kept saying they were struggling actors and they lived in these horrible little apartments and didn't want to go out and do anything, whatever. I don't believe it has to be that way. I think you can have not a lot of money but still have a decent looking apartment if you wallpaper and paint yourself and still, you know, get good food and still shop around and look great. So let's ignore that starving actor thing. But what I did when I first moved to Toronto, I could type really fast. And so I went to Manpower Temporary Services. And I got a job in offices, and then somebody offered me a full-time job. So I worked for Price Waterhouse Executive Search Department for a couple years in the Bank of Montreal Tower. I still get hives when I drive by there. But anyway, it paid the bills until I could figure out what the heck this business was about, because I knew nothing till I finally auditioned for something that got me an agent, that got me finally some auditions for actual shows. And when I finally did get a show, it was Piaf in Thunder Bay. And when I left to do that, that was it. I stopped being a secretary, and I never again had another job.
Now, when we come back, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your role models and what you consider your first big break to be.
Oh, okay.
So please stay with us. There's more to come on One on One.
King be making an appearance. If affairs of state don't keep him, he might do. Leave a date with the elite. We might get to see the royal suite. Nelson Eddy and Jeanette MacDonald too.
Welcome back to One on One. I'm Diana Bumbaca, and joining me today is Canadian performer Louise Pitre. Thank you again for joining us.
Sure.
Now, just before break, we had said you had some role models. Who were some of your role models that maybe helped you shape your performing style?
Oh, I think maybe the first person that I'd have to say marked my musical upbringing would be Edith Piaf. There's no doubt about that, because my mother used to play some of her records and stuff, and it was those songs. I just liked the song spirit, and she had a very distinctive style. I have to say Judy Garland would be first and foremost for me. It's not that she's the best singer in the world, but man, she gave more when she sang than anybody, and I admired her for that so much, and the reaction she got, you know. I mean, how much can you love a performer? That's the one. That Carnegie Hall live recording to me is, it doesn't get any better than that. I don't care, bad notes and all. That's what it's about to me. And Barbra Streisand in the beginning stages, when she was younger and she was doing Funny Girl, and the kind of singing she did back then was quite different. She chose older songs, and she hadn't gone poppy yet, you know. I admire her greatly too.
Would you say it was something about the way they took on the characters that they played?
Yes, and took on a character when they sang a song and didn't just sing a song, do you know? Right. Really inhabited a song. Streisand is a magician at that. I mean, you see old footage of her on TV shows, and she's just a guest, and she comes out and she just stands there and she sings one song, and it's like, it's the setup and the keeping it all the way through the song, you know? I mean, musical theater is theater. It's not just musical. It's not just notes. It's about talking to you, making you feel something, you know? So being so connected to it. And yeah, she's a wizard at that.
Now, what would you consider your first big break to be?
My first big break, I would have to say, would be Blood Brothers that I did in Toronto for a Canadian stage, but that was in High Park. It was the first year they didn't do a Shakespeare in that space. And I think, yeah, for me, that was the first sort of the leading role, but in not a review or not your average musical. I mean, it was a heavy acting piece. And I consider that to be the thing that said, okay, I can act and I can sing. So, and it got great reviews, and that is what got me another audition for Les Mis. It was because those reviews came out when the creative team from Les Mis came back, and they had thought that maybe the sound of my voice, I don't have a very clear voice, you know, it's not, anyway, it is what it is. And they thought, they worried that I would not be able to sustain singing 8 shows a week because of the quality of my voice. Sounded like I might get laryngitis. And then they read the reviews, and so they called me back in again, and I ended up getting that role. So I'm particularly fond of Blood Brothers for that.
Now, in Les Mis, you played Fantine.
Yes.
And after that run in the mid-90s, you were considered a Canadian star. How did it feel to have that title?
Was I? Really?
That's what everybody says.
Gee. I don't know. It didn't feel any different. You know what the great thing was? The one great thing was that you could tell people, and up until then I hadn't had the chance to, they'd say, what are you doing? And I mean anybody, not in the business. So what are you working on right now? You know, and you'd say, whatever, I'm doing a show at the Tarragon or whatever, and they'd say, oh, that's nice, because they'd never heard of the show, of course. But this one, you could finally say, I'm in Les Mis, and they go, oh, you are? You know, everyone knew the show and knew about it, and that was thrilling to me. And that my parents, I think they came to that opening night, and they sat like right there, down left, right close to the stage. And I got to tell you, I took my bow right to them at the end of that show. And it was finally, I thought, okay, Mom and Dad, I think I'm going to be all right. I'm going to do okay in this business. You know, it was like at the Royal Alex Theatre, and it was such a great production. So that was, to me, that wasn't, I was nowhere near a star yet. To me, it was, I think I'm going to do this for real. See, Mom and Dad, I'm doing it.
We will come back to One-on-One with more after this break. Welcome back to One-on-One. I'm Diana Bumbaca, and joining me today is Louise Pitre. Now, Louise, you are really well known for not only your role as Fantine in Les Mis, but also for playing Donna Sheridan in Mamma Mia. How did you prepare for that audition, or any audition for that matter?
Oh boy, that one was a weird one, actually. It was, I'll tell you how I came into even my first audition. I was asked to go audition for something else altogether in New York well before they were auditioning Mamma Mia, and it was Napoleon. And they want to see me for the role of Josephine, which I thought I probably wasn't right for. I'm not what you think of when you think of Josephine, I don't think. But anyway, I went to New York to audition for Napoleon that they were going to do in the West End in London. And it was during one of those hurricanes. I think it was Arthur or something like that. Anyway, flights all got canceled. Ended up driving to New York for this audition. And once we got to New York, it was like trees on the road and stuff. It was scary. But anyway, made it. Did the audition. I did a good audition, but when I left the audition room, the director of that piece, Francesca Zambello, I'll always love her, she followed me out of the room and took me to a corner of the waiting room. She said, you know what? That was a great audition. You're probably not right for this show. But there's a show called Mamma Mia, and they're going to be going to Toronto, and they're going to be auditioning for that, and you would be so perfect for the role of the mother. And she said, I know the director. I'm going to write to her and tell her she must see you. So that was that. Months later, they come to Toronto to audition for Mamma Mia. Now, I know I would have gotten an audition anyhow. However, when I walked in there, for my first audition, the casting director from England said, ah, yes, Louise, I've heard about you. And I said, did Francesca Zambello? Yes, and she had emailed them to say, saw this woman, I think she's great, you must. So it was almost like I had an extra little, you know, the fairy dust, the little ping. I went in singing, I can't remember, you don't have to say you love me. Remember that song? They wanted sort of poppy, what are you going to sing? You know, you don't sing Les Mis stuff for Mamma Mia. I mean, I had no idea what the show was anyway. It just sounded like a fun show, I suppose. But ABBA, I was never a huge ABBA fan, so who knew? A long-running show sounded like a good gig. But I wasn't expecting it to be anything wonderful. There you go.
And how did you feel when you found out that you did get the part?
Well, it was special all around the show. Everything's different about it. You never get told that you have a role at the audition. That never happens, right? So I'd gone in 3 times. The last time for the huge panel, the ABBA guys and the thing and the thing and the thing, 12 of them, and sang Winner Takes It All yet again. And so I had done those 3, so I was waiting to hear. And then they called me in again. And I thought, oi, you know, how many times can I sing The Winner Takes It All? Oh my God. So I went in again and I walked into the audition room, in the waiting room, all these women my age. I'm going, oh, they still don't know, they still don't know. So I thought, okay, whatever. So the director came out and said, Louise, come in. So I went in and the big panel again and I sat in front of them. And she said, just sit down. So I thought, okay. Sat and she said, well, Louise, we would like you to be our Donna. Excuse me. And I won't do it now because I know the microphones are sitting here, but I did. I jumped out of my chair and I hopped around the room. I really did, all around the room. And then I came back down, I sat down, I said, well, we'll talk. And then they all laughed, and then it was great, and that's how it started. And they wanted me there that day to read with all those other women to see which 2 would, you know, go well with me to play my 2 girlfriends. So I spent an hour and a half reading with all these other women and knowing that I had the part. That's fantastic. Yeah, pretty cool.
Now, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about your performance in Mamma Mia and what it felt like to perform on Broadway. So please stay with us. There's more to come on One on One.
Would you take my arm? What could be the harm?
Pretty smooth for a fella barely off the farm.
Just a short walk across the street with the stars afire above.
The stars.
That's right.
Is your hat too tight? In the city, you can't see stars at night.
If we can't exactly see them.
Welcome back to One on One. Joining me today is Louise Pitre. Now, I wanted to talk to you about Broadway. Many performers say that once you get to Broadway, it's your dream come true. So was New York everything you hoped it would be?
Yes and no. You know, when you, it is a dream to play on Broadway. Okay, anybody who's in musical theater, absolutely, West End and Broadway. But I think I wouldn't have died if I had never gone to Broadway. You know what I mean? It's not that important to me. But it worked out that way, so fantastic. But I think you polish up your dreams so much sometimes, you know, because you think about them for so long that by the time you get to it, there's no damn way it can live up to what you've made it out to be. It's, you know what? It's just twice the work because I hired a press agent, you know, to really make it count too. I'm thrilled I did that, and she was fantastic. Judy Katz, oh my God. But that means another full-time job, I swear. I don't think there was a day, my first year on Broadway, that I didn't have something like this, or some photo shoot, or some function, or some benefit, or wow. Plus you're doing 8 shows a week all the time. I mean, whoa. It was an intense, exhausting, thrilling, exhausting time. I'm keeping my date books from those 2 years on Broadway because you know what? I flip through them and I think, I cannot believe I did that. And I lived. So that's what Broadway was.
So you have gone to Broadway, New York. Now you've come back to Broadway in Orangeville.
Yeah.
And you're currently involved in a production with your husband.
Yeah.
Would you wait? What has that experience been like?
Well, we're starting rehearsal September 5th. We're running September, October. That's incredible because, see, that's our first. It's my husband's a good writer, you see. And so when we were on tour with Mamma Mia and in New York, we didn't have green cards at the beginning, so he couldn't work. So he used this time writing. And he wrote the script. And now, here we are, we're doing it, because Theatre Orangeville did a workshop of it with us. And this is pretty exciting, because we actually wrote some songs for it, as well as the old World War II songs. And the script is his, so yahoo, and he wrote it for us to do. So this is the first of many, we hope.
Now, where did the idea for the story come from?
Gourmet Magazine.
Really?
Yeah. I read an article in Gourmet Magazine in '98, and it was this couple's story. They asked readers to write in with special things that had happened to them in hotels anywhere in the world. And this couple wrote in this incredibly beautiful, touching story, and I thought, oh my God, you got to read this, Joe. So he read it and said, oh my God, wouldn't this make a wonderful staged play, you know? So from that, he embellished, of course, and wrote this entire script based on this story.
That's wonderful.
Uh-huh.
Now, how do you feel? Do you have any anxieties about performing together at all?
Oh, no. God, no. Are you kidding?
Well, you
And
never
especially
know.
if it's not at home and we end up doing it somewhere else, it's like we can be together, you know? Oh, how great is that? The goal, my big goal in life, is to have a few of those, and we start them, we perform them for a while, and then, though, other theaters can do them with other people, so that we don't have to do it 8 times a week, you know, year in, year out, and we just have other ones. Write them at home together.
Now, in past interviews, you had said that one of your dreams was to own an old stone house and have a barn on your property. Do you think you've accomplished that living in Alliston?
Yeah. Okay, it's not a stone house, it's brick, but it's an 1857 Victorian farmhouse. Yes. With original white plank pine floors. Hello. And 2 barns. There's a horse barn and a huge bank barn, too. It's, yes. This place, we actually found it on the net from New York. I mean, we'd sit there with our vodka tonics late at night looking at real estate. I mean, and we saw this place and we thought, oh, it's too much. It's not enough land. It's this, it's that. But we called it the Dream House. And we kept going back to it. We go, let's look at the Dream House again and see. And we ended up getting it.
So this definitely differs from any home you had in New York.
Oh, yeah.
What do you enjoy about living here?
Oh, God, everything. Everything. I have something pretty to look at no matter where I look, and that's the thing. I've had enough concrete, I think, to last me a lifetime, you know? I can see the sunrise. I can watch the sunset. Unobstructed view of the sunset. What else do you want? You can open the door and the dog just goes out. No leash, no collar. Do you know? It's a dangerous thing because you end up wanting to stay there and you don't want to leave. And we call it the magic hour. And when the sun starts to go down, it starts to get that beautiful light. But then it stretches, and so Joe and I end up sitting there having a very long cocktail hour watching the beautiful sunset. But hey, if that's your only problem in life, I figure we're doing okay.
Wonderful. Well, Louise, I wanted to say thank you very much for joining us on One today. It was a pleasure to meet you, and I appreciate you coming to speak with us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for watching One. Stay tuned for a new episode coming soon.